Hello everyone, today I wanted to discuss a tribe in Polytopia that is a fan favourite no matter where you look, and for good reason. Yadakk are not only mysteriously hard for many people to spell online, but also have a unique playstyle, unique art, and of course a cool theme tune. But alongside all of these things, they are of course misunderstood. Wait a minute. I realise now I'm coming to write this that I've said this exact same thing about almost every tribe I've made a guide to on YouTube thus far, haven't I? Underrated tribe with a unique playstyle that is widely misunderstood. Well, I suppose there are many good tribes that meet that description in Polytopia, but Yadakk is unique among them for one reason, and that being that they have the ability to adopt either a more economic or a more expansionist approach. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you might already have a suspicion that I will favour the economic playstyle, and you would be right. The way I have most reliably managed to achieve success with this tribe is, somewhat counterintuitively, not to expand right away using the tribe's starting tech of roads, but rather to research organisation. But let's back up a level here and talk about tech and resource spawn. Aside from looking aesthetically different, the tribes in Polytopia are differentiated by two things. Their starting bonus, which is typically a technology with the notable exception of the special tribes, and their resource spawn rate. Yadakk have plus fruit and reduced spawn rates for mountains and forest, meaning that the tribe is almost guaranteed a decent number of fruit in the vicinity of their capital. This is an incredible asset early on if the player chooses to research organisation straight away, and this combined with roads should be enough for Yadakk's middle game economy to rival that of almost any tribe. Again, with some notable exceptions, like for example Bardo. As in the game I'm displaying on screen, Yadakk often are not even compelled to research riding straight away, simply because they have access to tech that other tribes need to research riding for, roads and trade. And this segues into my next point quite nicely, because later on, one thing that Yadakk, with their reduced spawn rates, can often benefit from is boards. Trade is a powerful tech on any tribe, but on Yadakk, who are always only one step away from researching the tech, far more so. Of course, you will require fishing in the coastline, and often it can be beneficial to get border growth as well, just to take those whales on the coastline. Of course, Yadakk, like any other tribe, need a middle game plan, and in the case of Yadakk, this is flexible. While some tribes lean heavily on knights or swordsmen, Yadakk can use more or less any late game unit and prosper regardless, although catapults are perhaps a weaker option in a spawn with few forests, and likewise swordsmen in a spawn without mountains, since obviously smithery will give you those forges that aren't particularly useful and you have to research mining. Knights are a unit that can be incredibly strong on Yadakk, but with the recent move of chopped forests to free spirit, be aware that a tribe without many forests cannot rush chivalry as quickly as perhaps Bardo or Hudrig could. Even so, the Knight is a strong unit by all accounts and will serve the land army well so long as you do not neglect the naval element. One further thing to consider is the way Yadakk interact with other tribes. As a tribe that favours early economic growth and then expansion in the middle game, Yadakk are of course vulnerable to early attacks by Venga and Illyrian, which is the same thing I've said about almost every tribe, because they do not start off with a sufficient economic head start to negate attacks like Imperius or a relevant tech like Quetzali, in their case shields. This does not only apply in the early game either. Yadakk need to be cautious when possible about expanding towards tribes that are likely to have a strong military, as roads could potentially lead to Yadakk ending up overextended. Naturally, the strategy of building a road to boost the unit forwards is only really cost efficient if that unit is not likely to immediately die. When I look to find a suitable comparison to Yadakk, the one that strikes me as the most comparable is Jinji. Both tribes share a lot of similarities in this regard. Jinji are a tribe that tend to have mountains early on, and both tribes have a tool that lets them explore faster early on but have a lack of economic strength in the early game that tempers this. Speaking of Jinji, they tend to function as a surprising soft counter to Yadakk in the middle game because swordsmen, who Jinji tend to make use of, are a strong counter to Yadakk's road-boosted cavalry attacks. In order to counteract this, I suggest you focus on building a strong economy, with a few cities of a reasonably high level and then connect them with your roads in order to allow you to get a branch into researching other techs. Like Imperius, but to a lesser extent, Yadakk get organisation very early on in most games. This typically ends up meaning that, like Imperius, Yadakk can research defenders early enough to resist all but the most immediate pushes in situations where warriors simply will not do. But I advise against solely researching shields without having levelled up your cities, except for in a worst case scenario, and even then only against bots who will not capitalise on their economic advantage over you. Against players, you would be better off playing Quetzali if you really want to build shields early on for some strange reason, or otherwise just take Imperius. As for tribes that focus on the late game like Polaris, Yadakk tend to be stronger in the middle game, in my experience, and therefore it's often to your benefit to attack these tribes sooner rather than later, although it will perhaps clarify this to you if you watch my other video on Polaris. This video feels like it's dragging on already, but there are still one or two more points I want to clarify. A lot of people seem to believe, in regards to Yadakk, that they should build a warrior straight away on turn 0 in addition to a road. However, for me, I find this strategy too slow in terms of economy and would be extremely surprised if anyone could find a way to make this strategy work. After having built both a warrior and a road on the first turn, you will end up with only 1 star, and that even won't let you research another tech until turn 2, by which point a tribe like Luxador could potentially already have a level 3 capital and several other cities, so this is just not something you want to be doing in any normal situation. Again, this is all barring extenuating circumstances, and if you have a situation that demands a certain technology or a certain playstyle, you should of course go for that. For example, if you're being attacked by Polytopia, that's because of Illyrion very early on. One thing I do often like to recommend to players is I like to recommend that you build several warriors, because those warriors can then attack the Polytopia and take them out in a couple of hits, and you won't sustain very much damage first if you let them come to you and then reach out and attack them, potentially using roads in the process. But generally, what I want to say to anyone who is considering playing Yadakk, which again I would highly recommend, I've had a lot of fun playing them, I bought them I think on the day they were released or something, and I found them just very fun ever since. One thing I would like to recommend to Yadakk players is that they consider building their economy before they get roads, get trade, and just build up their military strength and overwhelm the other players. Yadakk really do have a lot of potential as a tribe, and I think they are one of those few tribes that has so many different diverging playstyles that actually you almost never get bored of Yadakk, whereas you will with some other tribes pretty quickly. I mean, I don't dislike the tribe or anything, but Aquarion would be my primary example in that regard. And this about wraps up my video, so thank you for watching it, and I hope you'll be returning to watch the next guide series. It should come out in about a week or so, but I have some things on in my life right now, so I won't be making another one immediately. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.